Appreciate you having us. Mr. Strag and I actually have it easy tonight because we have two of our finest teachers that will be actually presenting to you tonight about a unit that they taught last year, and you're going to see where they went with the unit and where it's going this year and beyond, how to reach out even further. But major kudos to Lauren Paddock and Ms. Kelly Tookie, 8th grade English, how this developed and what they were able to do with it, and inspired our students to not only read as far as a literature standpoint, but the importance of giving back to community, having global awareness. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Lauren Paddock.
Thank you. Okay, we're really excited to be here tonight, and even more than that, we're excited to share with you the awesome things that our students did last year and that we have planned for them to do this year and in the coming years. So if we get started, I apologize, our clicker isn't working, so thank you so much. Okay, we got our inspiration for teaching this novel, A Long Walk to Water, because we were looking for a story that would really engage our students and was high interest, realistic fiction. So this story, or by any chance, is anybody familiar with this story? Okay, so this tells two parallel stories. One is about Salvador, which is the nonfiction element of this story, set in 1985, and it's about his journey as a lost boy, fleeing his village in South Sudan, and his journey through that process, and then as a refugee here in the United States. While it's also telling the story of a young girl, 12 years old, very close in age to our students, 2008 it's set, and it tells her journey of how she walks up to 8 hours a day just to get water for her family, which, by the way, is not clean drinking water. And at the end of the story, which is really the best day for us as teachers, the two stories merge, and we see how Salvador, in his incredible effort to give back, goes back to South Sudan, starts a nonprofit organization called Water for South Sudan, and drills wells in these villages. So young girls like Naya and all of these women and children are able to be educated and have such better lives simply because they have access to clean drinking water. So those two stories merge at the end, and it's really powerful, it's relevant, it's timely. Like Dr. Trina mentioned, there's opportunity, a huge opportunity, which we'll share with you, for our students to give back. And one of the best things about it was the exposure to other cultures, because our middle schoolers, by nature, are oftentimes in a zone, and it was
Canonsburg is what they know.
Yes.
They don't know what's happening
Yes.
on the other side of the world.
And so it was a great opportunity to expose them to those things. Thank you. So there were a lot of cross-curricular opportunities for this unit. In social studies, we touched on the civil war that is going on in South Sudan, the geography and background of the country, the cultural conflicts that are happening there. In science, the students learned about wells, the water cycle, water purification and treatment. And then, of course, in English, where the bulk of the work came in, fortunately, because it is such a relevant thing right now, Salvador is so well known for his efforts that there are numerous interviews and documentaries featuring him, so we were able to share a lot of those with the students. They completed a web quest, and then, of course, to get in those necessary reading skills, there was the reading and analysis, and we were able to segue to a future unit that we do at the end of the year, which is our Holocaust unit, with all of the connections to genocide and ethnic cleansing.
And by the nature of teaming, we're really able to pull that across into other classes here, which we're lucky to do. Have some other teachers be able to chime in with that. So Water for South Sudan is the foundation that Salvador founded. He's the main character of our book, and that is the foundation that we ended up raising money for and sending in to be a part of and help contribute to drilling wells in South Sudan today. And this was pretty important to us. I think before reading this, I didn't know a lot about this personally. I know our students didn't know about this, but our kids learned a lot about this culture. The 1 out of 10 people in South Sudan only have access to basic sanitation. The 40 billion hours that women in Africa spend each year walking to find clean water. Our students didn't know anything about this, and I think it's something we all take for granted is the access we have to clean water, that we can hit a button on our refrigerator and have a glass of water. They can go out to the water fountain, have a glass of water. That's not the case for other children in the world, and they didn't really understand that before this novel.
They send the women?
Yes, because typically the men are in the army or they are farming. And so the women have no access to schools. They have no education because their primary role in life is to walk miles and miles just to bring water back. But they then have to boil because it's contaminated. It is mind blowing.
The fictional character in the story, Naya, she's actually made to teach her younger sister how to do it. She's 12, and she ends up, her mother asks her to teach her younger sister how to do it, and she's 8.
So we thought it would be helpful to show you just a very short clip that we shared with our students. They watched this entire documentary just to give you a little sense of what kind of challenges Salva and the other people of South Sudan are up against. So if you wouldn't mind just clicking on that. Oh, 1 minute. There we go.
Sudan is Africa's largest country. For 21 years, a civil war raged between northern and southern Sudan. Nearly 2 million people died. 4 million were displaced. During fierce government attacks in 1985, amid gunfire and bomb blasts, 17,000 Southern Sudanese boys fled into the bush. They became known as the Lost Boys of Sudan. The Lost
Okay, so just a quick glimpse of some really powerful images that, really kind of startle our students, I think.
Captivate them.
That's the
Start
word
to
I'm
introduce
looking
the
for,
student.
right. And, sometimes we're hesitant to drink out of certain water fountains because we're afraid of germs, and you see somebody drinking that muddy water, and it really resonates. If the next slide, please. Thanks. Thank you. Great. So we read and discuss the novel like we do with all of our novels, recall interpretive questions, vocab, reading strategies, all of the skills they need to be strong readers. And then when we finish with the novel, the students begin something that's called the Iron Giraffe Challenge, and this is a challenge that actually Salvador, the main character in the book, started on his nonprofit Water for South Sudan website. And this is to get, because so many schools teach this book, this is to really get the students engaged and give them an opportunity to give back. So you can join the challenge by pledging to raise $1,000 to donate towards the drilling of wells in these villages. So that is what we did. We made the pledge. The prizes are very exciting for the kids because they can, Salvador can actually come to your school for a visit. There can be Skype calls with the author of the book, Linda Sue Clark. And
Selma was in Pennsylvania
he
last week, and we
was.
wanted to see him.
He was.
He's very involved with the foundation.
So it was a great, there were a lot of motivating factors for the students. On top of just helping and donating this money, it was a chance for the students to really interact, and we don't get that all the time. So the students knew so much about it in our English classes, we needed to find a way to get the word out to the rest of the school. So they created posters, we played some commercials on the morning announcements, and really spread the words. We had students go into home bases and share information about it.
Students who aren't necessarily the student council representatives who are involved on a day-to-day basis, the ones who wanted to be involved with this. So it was a nice opportunity to get a different group of students involved. So we
I'm sorry, Ms. Patty, can you explain to the board why it's called the Iron Giraffe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Iron Giraffe Challenge was called that because that's what the
The
drilling,
drill.
the rigs look like when they bring them into the villages, and in the story they say that it looks like a draft. It's what it's named for. So we started with a couple bulletin boards around school just to get kind of the excitement going, kind of keeping our progress as we went through here. Students put up fun facts about water and its accessibility throughout the world, and we updated this on a daily basis, and it didn't take long until we filled that up actually. About a week maybe. You go to the next slide there. We were pretty active on social media at the middle school, and we actually had a couple interactions with the author, Linda Sue Park, and Water for South Sudan. So I'd say maybe a week or so in, we had raised about $1,900. Tagged Linda Sue Park in there, and she wrote back to us and said, "Awesome, pass on. What did that say there? Please say hi to your students from me and Salva." And to show that to the kids, the next morning, like I was sitting at my desk, like just stunned. And then the next day, say, "Hey guys, you saw like the updates. We do the Instagram with the kids," and to show them that the next day, like their eyes just lit up to see that there was a connection there. You know that we really are making a difference. So that was one of my favorite moments last year was to share that with the students. So our next step, we decided to have a walk. We did a walkathon at school, and it was to symbolize the hours and hours that women and children spend walking each day. So we took our team classes for the day. Everyone was on board. We made a great curriculum, and we took them to the gym. Unfortunately, it was too cold to have them outside that day. But we walked through their team classes that day, which I think it came up to about 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours a day.
I think it was 4 hours, and which was
So that would have been one way.
one way. That was one way to get water. Then you would have to turn around and come back.
Right, so we had our classes with the gym classes jumped in on it with us, and kind of pay respect to the children and women who go through that each day. They got a couple photos up on here. But we did achieve our goal. We raised almost $3,000 that we donated directly to Water for South Sudan. It was pretty amazing to see how that came together. One drill, one rig cost $15,000. So that's how much it costs to actually sponsor one well. If you raise $5,000, you can sponsor a third of a well. So we might consider setting that as a goal in the future. We'd certainly like to surpass this going forward, but we blew $1,000 out of the water. So we'd like to see where this can go going forward. We have some pictures here. The whole school got involved. The Library Media Center crew created a display, different books about water, facts. They created that to have down near the lobby. And I think we have some photos for you to walk. Ms. Tookie, you want to talk about what that was?
Yes, so while the students, because they spent so much time in the gym that day walking, we had them fill out little signs that said what they were walking for, I walk for, and some of their messages, I think we have some more pictures maybe with some of their messages, were pretty powerful. A lot of them were doing it, you can see there, the Sudanese people, Salvadot. Salvadot really became a hero. He is a hero, but really it was neat to see. Yes. So a lot of them said that they were walking for young girls to get education, for health, and all of the advancements of the Sudanese people. And
we held the walk on World Water Day as well, which was kind of nice tie into it.
And they had the opportunity to donate loose change or whatever extra money they wanted to bring in on the day of the walk as well.
One more. Yeah. So at the end, final social media interaction there, response from Water for South Sudan. Thank you so much. Happy World Water Day. So it was a nice end to the unit. I think the kids really enjoyed it. It'd be nice to get them outside next year. It is the goal if the weather will cooperate with us.
Thank you. Okay, so we wrapped up this unit. It was perfect. We were able to watch the live stream of the awards ceremony, which was fantastic. And they had representatives from Water for South Sudan drawing. Everybody has an equal chance in the raffle. It's not based on how much money you've raised to win a prize. It's just a drawing. So we were able to watch the drawing. We didn't win, but the takeaway was still, we felt like winners. As corny as that might sound, the kids felt so proud of themselves. And then we actually brought in a speaker from the Bhutanese community in Pittsburgh, and we wanted to show the students that while Salvadot seemed close to them because of what we brought into the classroom, that we actually have refugees living right here in our own Pittsburgh community, which they were so unaware of. And we brought in a gentleman from Bhutan who has been living in the United States about 10 years now, and he's incredibly active in the refugee community and is outspoken about resettlement and the help they need from us and what kinds of challenges they face. And he was very open with our students. It was a great opportunity for them to ask questions that, in a way, they probably would have wanted to ask Salva as well about that resettlement process, because that's something that really interests them.
Go to the next.
Yeah. Thank you. So his name was Suni Nepal, and while his story is different from Salva's, he was always in touch with his family, whereas Salva was separated from his family. He still endured a civil war and the pain of leaving his culture behind. It was a great segue for us to move into our final unit of the year, as I mentioned earlier, teaching the Diary of Anne Frank. So really our future goals, and if I could share with you, Dr. Taranto was kind enough to share these books with us last year, and it propelled a great idea. We want to make this even bigger and better this year. So one of our goals is to collaborate with Borland Manor and continue to raise this community awareness. If you'd like to look at that, you can pass it around. There are children's books written about these very topics on age-appropriate levels, and we're looking at some ideas and some ways that our students can interact with the elementary students, and perhaps some of our advanced classes we're looking at buddying up, having some reading partners. The possibilities are endless. Obviously, we would like to surpass last year's fundraising efforts and
See where this goes.
see where this
It
goes.
was a great first year, and
Yeah.
I think we can do more for this year.
Yeah. So we're really grateful that you listened to our
Awesome.
Long Walk to Water talk, and hopefully you learned something new tonight. And when this comes out again this spring, we'll have even more support.
Look for the updates.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully next year you can come back and tell us you raised one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having
Thank
us.
you. That's
We
awesome,
appreciate
girls.
it.
Very nice. Very nice.